Alright, so this is on Rubber Soul, the British version. So the friend who turned me on to the Beatles, he had, as I said earlier in the broadcast, the he got the blue and the red albums for Christmas, and his version of them told which album which songs came from, and it told which American album. So some of the songs were listed as coming from Hey Jude, and some from Yesterday and Today. And I really liked the stuff from Sgt. Pepper Magical Mystery Tour. I grew to like some of the later stuff, but the earlier stuff, I liked it well enough that I eventually bought the Red Album, but I didn't like it well enough that I bought the albums they were derived from. And but my friend got Revolver, and I listened to that and liked it enough that I did buy that. But there were several songs from Rubber Soul that were on the Red Album, and I liked them well enough, but I didn't like them well enough to buy it. And so, back in the early 21st century, when I started buying these on CD, I was really shocked at how much I liked Rubber Soul. Uh, there were a handful of songs from there that I'd heard on the Red Album, but there were a lot of songs that weren't on the Red Album, like Think for Yourself, The Word, If I Need Someone. And so I really liked this a lot. But the American version of this album was very different. For one thing, they changed the color of the title, Rubber Soul, from this red color to this brown, which the CD has. That's the American cover there. It also has some pictures. So this starts off, as I said, they removed some songs from here. They removed Drive My Car, Nowhere Man, If I Need Someone were removed from here, and a couple of songs from Help were added. And so it made for a very different album. But this is when they decided to put them on CD in 1987, George Martin redid the stereo on this. So I've never heard the original version of the songs that were not on the Red Album. I hope to get hold of the American stereo version of this soon. So let's go through the individual tracks. It starts off with a hard driving song, Drive My Car, which I didn't like as much back in the 70s, but when I started listening on the CD, it grew on me quite a bit. Maybe Martin's changing of the stereo helped a lot with that. Next song is Norwegian Wood, This Bird Has Flown, which some people credit as being the first first English pop song with a sitar. I think that there may be an exception to that, but I'm not sure. Next was one I had not heard before. You Won't See Me, sung by Paul. Norwegian Wood, sung by John, and Drive My Car by both of them. And then both of them sing Nowhere Man, another great song. And then George sings Think for Yourself, which is a pretty good song. And then John and Paul sing The Word. And finally, Paul sings Michelle. I think that might be the end of side one. Because it's a CD, I don't know where the sides begin and end, but that was a part of the artistry of listening to the albums that it'd be this block you'd listen to straight through, and then you had to turn the album over. And so the next song, which would probably be the beginning of that side, is Ringo singing What Goes On, which is credited to being written by John, Paul, and Ringo. Then John sings Squirrel. And then is Paul's I'm Looking Through You, which I've heard the American version on the radio. And the American version has some mistakes at the beginning, and then he started off, and it was such a good take they kept them, but they added them out for the English version. They're out on the CD. Then John sings probably his best song. I would say, imagine competes with this for as far as his best song. It's In My Life. It's so deep you can't imagine a guy in his mid-20s wrote that thing. And then followed by Wait, singing by John and Paul. And then George has another song, If I Needed Someone. And finally, there's John's song, Run for Your Life. It's about a very jealous guy, which is a bit of self-confession on his part. And he said that he didn't like it, maybe because it revealed too much about himself. Other people have said we're really disturbed by the lyrics of this. Or rather, women are disturbed by the lyrics of this. I've seen online people who thought this was a really good song. Anyway, Rubber Soul, better than I thought it was. It's really good. And I think that my favorite part of the Beatles starts with this now. Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour. That's like a middle period of the Beatles' music. Although the change from Help to this is not abrupt. It is a definite, you could say this is the beginning of a time. A few of their songs reach back. The transition from the early song to Sgt. Pepper is very gradual, but this is a good beginning point for a middle era of Beatles music. So check it out. It's really good.